Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Michael stood at the kitchen counter, his fingers tracing absent patterns on the side of his coffee mug. The faint tremor in his grip betrayed the unease bubbling beneath his composed exterior. Rest had become a rare luxury in recent weeks, his nights plagued by gnawing doubts about Peggy. Something in her manner had shifted, subtle yet unmistakable, leaving Michael to sift through the fragments of their once unshakable bond. Their connection, once vibrant and full of trust, now seemed threadbare, stretched to its limits by an invisible strain. It wasn't a dramatic unraveling, no overt clues, no damning evidence of betrayal. The signs were quieter, woven into the fabric of their daily lives. Her late nights at the office grew more frequent, her appearance more polished and deliberate, her phone calls cloaked in silence whenever he entered the room. These could have been dismissed, brushed off as coincidental quirks or innocent shifts. But Michael wasn't the kind to ignore the cracks spreading beneath the surface. He loved Peggy deeply, but that love carried an undercurrent of intensity that could turn volatile under pressure. Peggy, the extrovert who lit up every room she entered, had always been the life of the party. Her role as a project manager at a cutting-edge tech company kept her constantly in motion, her charisma and ambition the driving forces behind her success. These were traits Michael had admired, even cherished. Now, however, he found himself questioning whether her renewed energy and focus were directed somewhere, or at someone, beyond their marriage. The first inkling came during a conversation that felt both casual and seismic in its implications. "Michael," Peggy began, her tone light, almost nonchalant, "I think I need to rediscover who I am. I've been feeling like something's missing." Her words hit him like a cold wind. She spoke as though she were suggesting a harmless hobby, not opening a door that could redefine their relationship. Michael forced a smile, masking the apprehension rising within him. "What exactly do you mean by that, Peggy? Rediscover how?" Her eyes sparkled, her excitement unmistakable as she launched into a speech that seemed rehearsed. "You know I love you, right? But I've been doing a lot of thinking lately. I came across this article about couples who strengthen their bond by dating other people." Michael felt a sharp pang in his chest. His thoughts churned with alarm, but his face remained a mask of calm. This wasn't a mere suggestion. It was a revelation cloaked in euphemisms, betrayal wrapped in the guise of self-exploration. He refused to let her see the turmoil her words unleashed. Not yet. "Are you talking about an open relationship?" he asked, his tone calculatedly neutral. Peggy's expression brightened, relieved by his measured response. "Exactly. It's not about falling in love with someone else. It's about adding excitement, experiencing something new and forbidden. It could make us stronger in the long run." Michael took a deliberate sip of his coffee, using the moment to steady his thoughts. His mind raced, crafting strategies more intricate than the conversation Peggy seemed to anticipate. "Let me clarify," he said, his voice calm but probing. "You're suggesting we date other people? And, depending on how things go, that could mean sleeping with them?" Her confidence wavered, the directness of his question catching her off guard. "Well, yes, but that's not the main point," she faltered. "It's about feeling alive again. It's about us." Michael leaned back against the counter, his gaze steady, his presence commanding yet unnervingly composed. A slow, knowing smile spread across his face. "You know, Peggy, that's an intriguing idea. Maybe you're onto something. It could be just what we need." The undertone of mock enthusiasm in his voice made Peggy's brow furrow. She studied him, searching for cracks in his demeanor. "Wait," she said cautiously. "You're okay with it?" "Of course," he replied, his smile widening. "In fact, I think it's brilliant. Honestly, I'm surprised I didn't think of it first." Peggy's confusion deepened. She had anticipated pushback, perhaps even anger, but not this unexpected agreement. "So, you're really fine with it?" "Absolutely," Michael said, his tone unwavering. "Who's the lucky guy? Or have you not decided yet?" She hesitated, her cheeks coloring faintly. Well, there is someone at work. Christopher. We've been talking, and I think there might be something there. The name struck him like a bolt of lightning. Christopher, the charming, athletic co-worker whose overt friendliness had always irked Michael. The puzzle pieces slid into place, and with them, a realization. This wasn't about adventure or growth. It was about Christopher. Michael let out a soft chuckle, shaking his head as though amused by the absurdity of it all. If that's what you want, then go for it, he said coolly. Without pausing, he picked up his phone, his expression turning impassive as he dialed a number. His eyes locked onto Peggy's as the line connected. Grace? Hi, it's Michael, he said, his voice warm and inviting. I was wondering if you're free this weekend. Peggy and I are trying something new, and I'd love to take you out to dinner. What do you think? Peggy's face drained of color. She stared at him, stunned, as her carefully laid plans began to unravel. Grace, their neighbor with striking features and an effortless charm, had always drawn attention. Michael's tone was casual, almost playful, as if arranging a friendly outing. Fantastic, Michael said into the phone, his gaze never breaking from Peggy's. I'm looking forward to it. I'll pick you up at 7, Michael said, his voice firm as he ended the call. Turning back toward Peggy, he caught the confusion and disbelief spreading across her features. Wait a minute. You're going out with Grace? Peggy's voice cracked as she tried to grasp what she had just overheard. Why shouldn't I? Michael responded with an easy shrug, his smile calm and deliberate. You're seeing Christopher, aren't you? Seems fair enough. You've got your options. Now I've got mine. Peggy's mouth opened, then closed again, her words faltering like a fish pulled from water. But I never said you could date other women. This isn't about you. It's about what I need. Michael's brow lifted, his tone razor sharp. Oh, I thought this was about us, about saving our marriage. Isn't that what you claimed? Something about the allure of the forbidden? The flicker of panic that passed over Peggy's face was exactly what Michael had anticipated. She had expected him to plead with her, to argue, to beg her to reconsider her actions. Instead, he had turned the tables, catching her off guard in a way she hadn't foreseen. Peggy's voice wavered as she fought to regain control. You can't seriously mean Grace. You barely even know her. Michael folded his arms, his expression frosty. Does that matter? You're risking our marriage over Christopher, someone you know only from work. Tell me, Peggy, how is this any different? Her face darkened with frustration. It's completely different, and you know it. You're being spiteful and cruel. Michael's laughter was cold and devoid of humor. Am I? Or am I simply abiding by the rules you set? If this is about exploration, then why shouldn't I explore too? Tears glimmered in Peggy's eyes as she shook her head, her voice breaking. I didn't mean for things to spiral like this. I thought we'd talk things through and find a way forward. Michael's response was ice cold. Oh, we're finding a way forward, all right, and you're about to learn just what that means. In the days that followed, Michael orchestrated a subtle yet unrelenting game designed to unsettle Peggy. He mentioned his plans with Grace in passing, letting tantalizing details drop into casual conversation. When his phone buzzed with playful messages from Grace, he ensured Peggy could see the notifications, his demeanor nonchalant, while her resentment simmered beneath the surface. One evening, as Peggy was getting ready for dinner with Christopher, Michael leaned casually against the doorway, observing her. She avoided his gaze, her hands unsteady as she applied her lipstick. Have a great time, he said, his voice laced with mock sincerity. I'm sure you two will enjoy yourselves. Peggy remained silent, her face pale as she gathered her things and left the house. Michael watched her go, knowing full well that regret had begun to take root, but it was too late for second thoughts. Later that night, Michael's phone buzzed with a message from Grace. She was confirming their dinner plans. A sly smile tugged at his lips as he read her text. The game was moving to the next stage. At the restaurant, Grace greeted him warmly, her embrace sending an unexpected thrill through him. Her striking dress left little to the imagination, and Michael basked in the attention she lavished on him, fully aware of how much Peggy would loathe every second of this if she knew. Their evening unfolded effortlessly, their laughter mingling over glasses of fine wine. The chemistry between them was undeniable, but Michael's thoughts kept circling back to Peggy. Knowing how much this would sting her only heightened his satisfaction. When the night drew to a close, Michael escorted Grace to her car. Under the soft glow of a streetlight, she leaned close, her lips brushing against his cheek as she whispered, "I had such a wonderful time. Let's do this again soon." Michael's smile deepened, his mind racing with possibilities. "I'd like that." As he watched her car pull away, his heart raced with anticipation. This was no longer just about revenge. It was about reclaiming control, proving that he could be just as much a player in this game as Peggy. When Michael returned home, he found Peggy on the couch, her eyes swollen and red from crying. She looked up at him, her voice barely audible. Did you sleep with her?" Michael's smile faded, replaced by a look of calculated detachment. "Not yet," he said, his tone even. "But I will." Peggy's sobs racked her body, guilt and jealousy crashing down on her like a tidal wave. Michael stood there, unmoved, watching her unravel. She had opened this door and now she was reaping the consequences. As the days passed, Michael's connection with Grace deepened. Each outing, every shared moment of laughter, drove a wedge further between him and Peggy. While she struggled with remorse over Christopher, Michael had ceased to care. This was no longer about reconciliation. It was about power, about savoring every moment of her unraveling. Eventually, Peggy broke. She begged Michael to stop seeing Grace, pleaded for his forgiveness, and admitted her mistakes. But Michael remained unmoved. The taste of revenge had become intoxicating, and he wasn't ready to let go of it. What began as a calculated response to her betrayal had evolved into something far darker. Michael watched as Peggy crumbled, their marriage reduced to a battlefield of shattered trust and painful lessons. Turning back was no longer an option, and he wasn't sure he wanted to. Michael had once believed that if Peggy got a taste of her own behavior, she might relent, and perhaps they could reclaim some semblance of their old lives. Yet, as he now stood over her, watching her sob into the couch cushions, an undeniable truth struck him. The wounds they had inflicted on each other were irreversible. He expected to feel sorrow, but all that filled him was an empty, desolate void. Peggy wiped her face, her voice faltering as she murmured, "I never meant for this to happen, Michael. I never thought it would go this far." Her words left him unmoved. She'd had countless chances to stop, to turn back, but she hadn't. Instead, she plunged ahead, her reckless naivety preventing her from seeing the inevitable fallout. She believed she could maintain the stability of their marriage while indulging her fantasies with Christopher. Now she was left to reckon with the consequences. Michael had come to understand that people rarely comprehend the weight of their decisions until it's far too late. "Did you?" he asked, his voice devoid of inflection. "You thought sneaking around with someone else was a thrill you could manage. You assumed I'd just roll over and accept it. What exactly did you expect, Peggy?" Her face crumpled under the weight of his words, regret and anguish etched into every feature. I thought it might help us reconnect. I thought maybe we could—" Her voice broke, the absurdity of her reasoning catching up to her. Michael let out a bitter laugh, the sound hollow and sharp. "Reconnect?" he repeated, his disbelief cutting through the tension. "You thought having an affair would strengthen our marriage? That's what you told yourself?" He shook his head, his tone biting. "You weren't trying to save anything. This wasn't about us. It was about you. You wanted an escape. You wanted him." Each word hit her like a lash, and she recoiled visibly. "That's not true," she said, her voice trembling. "I wasn't trying to leave you, Michael. I thought this would give us a new start. I just wanted something more." Michael felt the anger bubbling beneath the surface, dangerous and ready to spill over. "Something more?" he said, his voice thick with disdain. "And what was I? Were 8 years of us together not enough for you? Was I not enough?" Her voice cracked under the weight of her confession. "I was wrong, Michael. I see that now. I never should have gone down this road." Her eyes pleaded with him, searching his face for even a hint of forgiveness. "But we can still fix this. Please. We can still save what we have." Michael's expression remained steely, her words unable to breach the coldness that had taken hold of him. This was the moment she feared most, the moment she realized her reckless actions had cost her everything. But Michael understood there was no repairing the damage. The wounds were too deep, the scars too numerous. Most painfully, he no longer respected her. "What exactly do you think is left to save?" he asked, his tone as unyielding as stone. "You walked away the moment you decided Christopher was worth risking everything for." Peggy let out another heart-wrenching sob, burying her face in her hands. Michael turned away, unable to stomach her pain any longer. Once her tears would have broken him. Once he would have moved heaven and earth to make her feel safe again. But now, they left him cold. He had sought revenge, thinking it might offer some closure, but it had only widened the gulf between them. He stepped toward the window, staring into the dark expanse outside. "Was he worth it, Peggy?" he asked, his voice calm in a way that was almost chilling. "Did one moment with him feel worth throwing away the years we've shared?" Peggy's voice cracked, raw and desperate. "I never slept with him," she cried. "I didn't even want to. I was confused, Michael. I thought maybe if I explored something else, it might reignite the spark between us. But now I see how foolish I was." Her confession rang with sincerity, but it came too late. Whether she had crossed that physical line no longer mattered. The betrayal was in the desire, the contemplation, the willingness to risk everything. It was enough to shatter Michael's belief in her and in their relationship. "Michael," she whispered, rising from the couch and inching toward him cautiously. Her voice wavered, fragile and unsure. "I know I hurt you. I know I broke what we had. But we can still rebuild. We can go to therapy. We can—" "No," Michael interrupted, his voice cutting through her pleas like a blade. The finality in his tone was undeniable. "There's nothing left, Peggy." He turned to face her, and for the first time she saw it clearly, the resoluteness in his expression. Her breath hitched as the reality of it settled over her. He wasn't going to forgive her. He wasn't going to fight for them. He was done. The sharp buzz of Michael's phone broke the silence between them. He glanced at it, his face indifferent as Grace's name lit up the screen. Peggy followed his gaze, her lips trembling as she barely managed to whisper a word. "You're really going to keep seeing her?" Peggy's voice wavered, her words lingering in the air like an unspoken plea. Michael didn't answer immediately. His attention drifted to his phone, where Grace's latest message glowed on the screen. Without a hint of acknowledgement, he slipped the device back into his pocket and strode toward the door. As he passed Peggy, he stopped just long enough to fix her with a cold, indifferent stare. "I already told you, Peggy," he said at last, his voice sharp and unyielding. "This is what you wanted, something different, something exciting. Well, here it is. Just don't expect me to be here when you realize what it's cost you." With that, Michael stepped outside, letting the door shut behind him. Peggy stood motionless in the living room, staring at the door that now separated them. Tears slipped silently down her cheeks as she absorbed the finality of his departure. She had craved freedom, yearned for something beyond the confines of their life together. Now, that freedom was hers, but it had come at the unbearable price of losing everything she had once held dear. Michael drove through the night, his emotions a tangled storm. The fleeting satisfaction of walking away, of asserting control, quickly gave way to a gnawing emptiness. What had he truly achieved? In severing ties with Peggy, he had relinquished as much as she had, perhaps even more. Yet unlike her, he had accepted the destruction, resolved to watch it all burn to ashes. When he finally arrived at Grace's apartment, the weight of what had transpired began to settle in his chest. Grace greeted him at the door with a beaming smile, her warmth a stark contrast to the turmoil raging within him. She was magnetic, offering a brief escape from the chaos that had overtaken his life. For the moment, Michael allowed himself to sink into her embrace, to lose himself in the illusion of comfort she provided. But deep down, the truth lingered like an unwelcome guest. No act of defiance, no temporary solace could mend the damage. His marriage was over. Trust had crumbled into irretrievable fragments. The life he had painstakingly built was beyond repair. In the stillness that followed their choices, both Michael and Peggy bore the scars of their shared collapse. Each had struck their blows, leaving the remnants of their union scattered and broken. As Michael sat in the quiet of his thoughts, one question echoed in his mind. Had either of them truly won, or had they both lost everything in the end? This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.